West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why this is an issue.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. I got a great hour for you coming up. Amber Heyman is going to join us. She's the owner of Kate's Wine Bar in Littleton. She's going to give us a preview of Littleton Restaurant Week coming up. And Dr. Jean Twenge is going to be joining us later in the hour. She's part of Centennial Institute's Impact Summit, which is coming up. So, lots of great things for you to do with the family. Now it's time, though, for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Thursday morning, 71 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 88 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, HHS Secretary RFK Jr. answering questions right now from lawmakers on Capitol Hill. The left hates him because he goes after the pharmaceutical industry and much more. DJT is speaking to Ukrainian President Zelensky this morning and European leaders about the Russian-Ukraine war. They're calling it the coalition of the willing, countries that say they are ready to underwrite any security guarantees Ukraine says that it needs. 47 says he's willing to offer American support, but only as a backstop, as he says Europeans need to lead the initiative. The president wants the Supreme Court to act quickly on his tariff plan. A federal appeals court ruled last week that Trump had exceeded his authority, imposing steep levies on nearly every country. Oh, please. According to the filings, DJT is asking the justices to hear arguments on the case in early November. United Auto Workers President Sean Fain says tariffs are helping the auto industry.
When the Trump administration came out and said they were looking at tariffs in auto, yes, we embraced that. We've reached out. We've been meeting with them weekly. Commerce Department and U.S. Trade Ambassador Greer, Secretary Lutnick. We've had a lot of really good conversations. And we've seen, a lot of the good come out of that already. In auto, we've seen good signs where GM's already announced $5 billion in investment in bringing jobs back here in America.
Colorado's new semi-automatic weapons law is already facing legal challenge. The Colorado State Shooting Association and 6 individuals filed a federal lawsuit arguing the measure signed by Governor Polis makes buying certain guns too costly and time-consuming. Ray Elliott, president of the association, on with Jeff and Billy last hour.
So this assumption that we're stopping the bad guys, no, all we're doing in the laws that Colorado's passing is making it more and more difficult for the law-abiding, responsible gun owner to be able to exercise their right to defend themselves, and we're not doing anything to stop the crime from happening and the criminals from doing the bad things.
The group knew this law would be a problem the moment it was signed. It's set to take effect in 2026. World-renowned fashion designer Giorgio Armani has passed away at the age of 91. Armani is known for featuring an Italian aesthetic in his clothing, with a lot of his work featured on red carpets around the world. He designed costumes for over 100 movies, including The Dark Knight and Ocean's 13. Epstein survivors say they may compile their own list of clients and urging the DOJ to release the names of those involved. Survivor Lisa Phillips said victims who know the regulars were in Epstein's world, as dozens gathered in D.C. on Wednesday to push Congress for action. Now, DJT, he needs to be more specific when he calls it a hoax. He needs to say the recent lies jammed in there into the files by the left, those are hoaxes, not the entire Epstein crime ring. And that's kind of what Phillips says about it.
For me personally, it was shocking and upsetting. I couldn't believe that he said that. Just for so many years, he acknowledged that there were thousands of files and he was going to release them. And so hearing that today, I was just confused by it. I think he thought that we were targeting him, and we weren't. I don't believe there's any evidence that he abused any of the survivors. So it wasn't a target against him. It was just, a cry for us being fed up and wanting answers.
I think he'll change his communication in that. We shall see. The Powerball jackpot is growing even larger after no one matched last night's winning numbers. Saturday's top prize is now worth a staggering $1.7 billion. So that would mean after taxes, that'd be about $200,000. It's the fourth largest jackpot in the game's history. I'm just joking. The NFL kicks off tonight. The Cowboys and the Eagles in Philly. Broncos getting ready for Sunday's game, 2:05 at Mile High against the Titans. 70 in Lafayette, 69 in Englewood, 71 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Some warm September temperatures today, but a cool down coming tomorrow. Will be mid to upper 80s and sunny this evening and overnight. As a front comes in, could see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms, lower 50s, gusty northeast winds. Brisk north winds and cooler. Only low 70s Friday with a few showers. Upper 40s Friday night, upper 70s Saturday. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, tomorrow, Littleton Restaurant Week kicks off. It's going to last 10 days all the way through Sunday, September 14th. Started as an idea to boost businesses and create a community-wide event that would spotlight anyone who wanted to participate. The idea quickly turned into an event as support gained traction and businesses were eager to plan and participate. It is in its third year now, and it features a wide range of participating businesses, including locally owned restaurants, cafes, wine bars, breweries, distilleries, and a meadery, Bill. They even got the meadery there for you.
Mead.
The event highlights the diversity of the dining community in Littleton, which is one of my favorite places to eat, offering guests the opportunity to experience everything from casual to fine dining. One of those companies that's participating is Kate's Wine Bar, and its owner, Amber Hammond, joins us now. Amber, thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Sounds
Excited
like
to be here.
It's going to be a busy 10 days for you all. Tell us about what Kate's Wine Bar does for the Littleton Restaurant Week, what people could expect to enjoy at your location.
So what we are doing is we are doing an elevated wine flight. A lot of people know that we do a great wine flight here. We usually have a few different options, and then it comes with a tasting card, so you get a little bit of education along with it. But this time, we're going to do a little bit nicer wines, and then we're going to pair it with your personalized cheese and charcuterie. And we have fun facts about Littleton as well.
Dude, I love wine, cheese, and charcuterie. It's such a great great meal right there to be able to hang out, relax a little bit, and then enjoy some good food as well. Now, Amber, tell us a little bit about Kate's Wine Bar. You became its owner in 2020. It opened in 2008, but you are right there in the center of downtown Littleton. Tell us about your restaurant.
Yeah, so we're just a few feet off Main Street. A lot of people, we kind of have a speakeasy vibe. If you walk by, if you don't know we're there, you don't know. So it has a cute little quaint wine bar vibe. A lot of people love it. It's quiet, so great for, to come in, have a good conversation with family, friends, or even a date.
Now, I'm going to ask Bill's classic question, and Bill, I'm stealing it from you.
Yeah.
But it is, what type of wine do you enjoy as somebody who's the proprietor of a wine bar? What's your favorite?
My favorite wine, I'm kind of cheesy for this answer, but it's always the one in front of me.
I like that.
That is a Bill Thorpe style answer right there.
Yeah.
Bill, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, probably the one in front of me, honestly. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds delicious.
Oh,
honestly.
Come on.
Yes.
So I'm a Malbec guy. Now, I don't really know what makes Malbec unique. Can you help me with that, Amber? What makes a Malbec unique?
Malbec, I like it. It's pretty universal. People that are not familiar with wine I end up starting them with a Malbec or a Zinfandel. So it's not too heavy, easy drinking, but you still get like a little bit of pepper, a little bit of can get vegetation in there as well. So you're still getting the complexities of wine, and you can move in either direction. You can go a little bit lighter, or you can get into the full body red.
Now, Amber Hammond, Kate's Wine Bar proprietor, got a question for you based on craft beer here in Colorado. Craft beer had a huge bubble for a while with IPAs. That's beginning to calm down right now. Is there something in the wine world that is similar, where all of a sudden it's like a big boom in Malbecs or Rosés or Zins or something? What is the hot wine right now?
As we're getting into especially the fall and the winter, everybody loves a good Cabernet Sauvignon. People just order it by name. They're like, I'll just take your cab, and you kind of know what they mean.
That's Amber Hammond. She's the owner of Kate's Wine Bar in Littleton. Starting tomorrow and running through Sunday, September 14th, is Littleton Restaurant Week. 40 businesses are participating, and you can find a full list at littletonbusinesschamber.com, littletonbusinesschamber.com, and then click on the Restaurant Week tab. What's special about Littleton Restaurant Week is that there's no pricing structure, whereas Denver Restaurant Week offers 4 different price points for a multi-course meal. Littleton has no price point structure, and this gives the businesses the creativity to have their own specials. So as Amber was mentioning, at Kate's Wine Bar, they're going to have their own kind of like up level. Is that what I heard? Kind of like a higher quality
she said
of
elevated,
wine?
Which at first I thought just meant
right.
really, really tall glasses. But no, I'm wrong about that. They're just upscaling the wine. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Okay, now Amber, question for you. That's Amber Hammond, owner of Kate's Wine Bar, joining Jeff and Bill live. Some of our audience is going to be wine enthusiasts. Others don't really know. They couldn't tell you the difference between a really fine Cabernet and the communion wine. They'd have no idea the difference between the two. So for someone that is more of a novice, if they're coming to Kate's Wine Bar and they're going to be having some of the wine, what should they be doing to evaluate the flavor and the aroma? Do they have to swirl it around and smell the glass? Is it really not good to try to guzzle the whole thing in one gulp? As a wine novice, what should someone be looking for when they're coming to Kate's Wine Bar and just looking at the tastes and flavors?
Definitely smelling the wine is part of the process. You'll kind of get a good idea of what you're going to be tasting. And you also want to make sure the wine's not bad as well. So if you're smelling vinegar, that's usually not a good sign. You may not even want to taste that wine. It's probably going to be bad. Not to say that you're going to have that experience, but just in case if you're hanging on to that bottle, it's been sitting in the corner at home for a few years, go ahead and give that a good little smell. But smelling it, you want to just like taste it, give a little bit of a taste. And then, I mean, like I said, the best wine is the wine in front of you. So, I mean, if you're experienced, you'll get more of like the flavors in there. The crazy thing about wine, it's so subjective. What I taste might be different than what you taste. I always tell people, like, one of my superpowers when it comes to wine tasting is I can pick up vegetation. In Sauv Blanc, there's some like green pepper, some jalapeno. That's kind of how that trend happened. But I can pick that up when someone else would only pick up the citrus or the minerality in it.
Oh, wow.
So it's different. It's interesting. It's kind of funny when I'm talking with some of these suppliers and winemakers. I'm like, ooh, green pepper. And they're like, you're the only person that's picked that up all day.
So in some ways, you're a wine super taster. I think that's fantastic.
Apparently for vegetation, for green pepper, I'm your girl.
I love that. Okay, now, Amberham, what do you believe, based on the wine selections that you have at Kate's Wine Bar and all the wines that you get to peruse throughout the year, what do you think is one of the most underrated wines out there? Something that nobody's paying attention to, that, you know, if you want to be one of those retro cool kids at Kate's Wine Bar, what is the underrated wine choice, in your opinion?
It's had a bad rap for a while due to the movie Sideways, but Merlots, some of the best wine I've ever had have been straight Merlot. So, and we have a straight Merlot on the menu. We do have a couple blends with Merlot. It's pretty fantastic. And a lot of people don't think they like Merlot, but that's the kind of the fun part about it. When you come here at Kate's, a lot of people, you know, they're like, oh, surprise me. And I'll ask them, you know, what do they want? A lot of times I'll throw that Merlot in front of them and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What is it? And I was like, it's Merlot. And they're like, I had no clue Merlot could be this good. So
that's Amber.
That's the fun part.
Amber Hammond. She's the owner of Kate's Wine Bar in Littleton. We're talking about Littleton Restaurant Week that's coming up. You can get a list of all 40 businesses that are participating by going to littletonbusinesschamber.org, littletonbusinesschamber.org, and click on the Restaurant Week tab. Now, since we have somebody that's an expert in wine, and I am by no means an expert in wine, but you often hear that, like, the older, the more valuable. Is it necessarily better? And Amber, what's the oldest wine you've ever tasted?
I think I tried a 1997 Bordeaux. It was good, and that was just a few years ago. It was really good, but I mean, it's kind of a roll of the dice. You have to make sure. You never know how it's going to open. There's been wines I've been hanging on for about 10, 12 years that I'm like, I just need to open, because there is a lifespan on wine. And so, you know, some of these like Chateau Montrachet that are like in the 80s and 90s that people are hanging on to, I really hope they're good, but that's the beauty of it. That's why people don't open it, or they do. And you know, it could be the best wine you've ever had, or it could have gone bad throughout the whole time. So, but it's fun trying old wine, but there is that chance that it could be bad, and it's always heartbreaking when that happens.
Oldest bottle of wine, Bill, comes from the 4th century. It was found in 1867 in a Roman tomb near Speyer, Germany.
Wow.
Could you imagine opening that and being disappointed?
Now, Amber, I think we make Jeff try it first just to make sure that he can still see afterwards. Yeah. Then you can have a taste. Right. Yeah, I'm not going first.
Make sure you smell that wine first.
Yes.
Yeah, the vinegar smell. And could you imagine if Amber's like, oh, I taste the green peppers. in the 4th century wine.
Yes.
Well, that's Amber Hammond. She's the owner of Kate's Wine Bar in Littleton, joining us to give us a preview of Littleton Restaurant Week starting tomorrow, running 10 days all the way through Sunday, September 14th. Get down to downtown Littleton, one of my favorite places in South Denver is downtown Littleton. Some of the best restaurants down there. Go to littletonbusinesschamber.org, littletonbusinesschamber.org. Click on the Restaurant Week tab and go check out all the great specials happening down there. Support local. Support these great restaurants in Littleton. Amber.
Support local, buy local.
Appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you so much. This was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Well, I'll be swinging by. I'm going to go grab some of that
fantastic.
Malbec.
Oh, yeah. I like the Merlot stuff. That's fantastic.
Kate's Wine Bar in Littleton. Go check them out. All right, let's talk some of our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. If your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing, maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity's lost altogether, well, I've got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. Look, we've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe your hair will regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. So for your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts, call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com. Bill, I was sitting there laughing about the idea of drinking that wine and not being able to see.
Oh, yeah. I can't see.
I mean, could you imagine that? It's been around since the 4th century.
Yeah, and just like, yeah.
Not a chance. That'll never be opened. That is the oldest bottle of wine. Because if you open it,
it's no longer
the oldest.
Exactly, no longer the oldest. Have you ever tried old wine that ended up being bad?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That vinegar smell that she talked about?
Now, okay.
It wasn't even that old.
Big
I
question,
just opened
though.
it. And was
Big question.
Whoa.
Was this in high school or college, or was it as an
No,
adult?
it was like last week.
Okay, I'm just curious. Because your barrier for what's spoiled is lower based on how young you are.
Yes, 100%. But
Yeah.
I had never had that where you open a bottle and it smells like vinegar.
Yeah.
I'd never. So I was like, well, maybe this is just the type of wine it is. Tasted it, was like, nope. That's done.
There was one a couple of years ago, and unfortunately, it is one of those vintages that my parents had been saving. They're like, oh, special occasion. Let's go ahead and bring this out. And, oh, that's awful.
Oh,
It
bummer.
was so bad. Yes, it was such a disappointment. I know.
Well, coming up next, we're going to talk with Dr. Jean Twenge. She's part of the Centennial Institute Impact Summit that's coming up. She'll be joining us next. You've heard her interview Jordan Peterson before. So she's a big name. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader. As soon as I can find the button, we are News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Our friends over at the Centennial Institute are launching the Centennial Impact Summit September 26th and 27th at their campus, Colorado Christian University campus in Lakewood. Here's what they're trying to talk about. American culture has experienced a seismic social change in recent decades, from fertility and mortality, sex and gender, work and leisure, and more. Conservative and Christian values have eroded so rapidly as to become almost unintelligible. And while most analysis of the shift has focused on the role politics, history, and religion have played, few have examined the role of technology in reshaping the American Christian understanding of morality, the world, and oneself. You can get tickets to this by visiting centennial.ccu.edu, centennial.ccu.edu. Well, one of the speakers there is Dr. Jean Twenge. She is an author and has written a very popular book, 10 Rules for Raising Kids in a High-Tech World. Dr. Twenge, thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So let's talk about your book, 10 Rules for Raising Kids in a High-Tech World, and how you plan to kind of weave this into what y'all are going to be talking about at the Centennial Institute Impact Summit.
Yeah, so I've been doing research on kids and technology and the impacts on mental health in particular for about a decade. And I also have 3 teenage kids myself. So this most recent book's really the collision between those, because there's so much advice out there for parents that's kind of squishy and vague. Like, for example, when should you give your kid a smartphone? Well, most experts say, it depends. Every family is different. Every kid is different. There's no one age. I just found that spectacularly unhelpful in my own family, and there is research that at least can help guide us toward an age, because we don't do that with driving. We don't say some kids are ready to drive at 12. And some might not be ready till 20. We picked an age, 16, and stuck with it. So 16, when you get your driver's license, is what I advise in the book. That's Rule 5 for getting the first internet-enabled phone or smartphone. There's other phone options before that. So this is all built on the idea that we know the kids are spending a lot less time with their friends in person. They're spending less time going to church. They're spending less time sleeping, and they're spending a lot more time on their phones. And it's a really bad formula for mental health.
That's Dr. Jean Twenge. She's the author of 10 Rules for Raising Kids in a High-Tech World. She's going to be speaking at the upcoming Centennial Institute Impact Summit on Theology, Technology, and Anthropology that's taking place September 26th through 27th at the CCU campus in Lakewood. Tickets can be found at centennial.ccu.edu, centennial.ccu.edu. Now, Dr. Twenge, I think it's important for people to understand, and we've seen this, but I'm sure you can confirm it, is that tech companies have really designed these smartphones, social media, Instagram, TikTok, to get kids to be prolific consumers. They want kids playing games. They want kids on their phones. A lot of this is designed not for balance, but for overconsumption. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So these companies have poured billions into making their products, as they use the word, engaging as possible. Many other people would use the word as addictive as possible. And that's hard. It's hard enough for adults to put down the phone or close the social media app. It is really hard for children and teens, because their brain development makes it hard for them to exert that self-control. Plus, just at that stage they are, friends are all important. What everybody else is doing is all important. Their brains are going to be looking at anything that's disturbing or maybe inappropriate for them a little bit longer, and that's exactly what the algorithms pick up on. So TikTok, for example, is this algorithm that's known as being very sticky, because it shows you what you think it thinks you want to see. So if you linger over something a little bit longer, it's going to show you more of that. And teens are hardwired to look at those things that are violent or inappropriate a little too long, and then it feeds up more of that.
That's Dr. Jean Twenge. She's going to be featured speaker at the Centennial Institute Impact Summit coming up, author of 10 Rules for Raising Kids in a High-Tech World, joining Jeff and Bill live. Now, I want to be a little facetious. I'm just doing this as a devil's advocate, doctor. But let's say, what's the harm? Aren't these kids just going to be interacting with their friends outside of the phone if I kick them outside? Or they could just be sitting there playing the video games. And more than that, if they're on their phone or they're interacting with friends, they're not bothering me about having something to eat or what time is dinner. What's the harm? Again, being facetious, but explain it to parents out there.
No, I'm glad you asked. I mean, the thing is, there are so many harms. We could spend the next half hour talking about them. That's the sad fact. So let's start with mental health. The more hours a teen spends on social media or gaming or watching videos, the more likely it is that he or she will be depressed. And these aren't small effects. The difference between a non-user of, say, social media and videos and a heavy user, say 7-8 hours a day, twice as much. They're twice as likely to be depressed in that heavy use category. Then for girls in particular, on a lot of social media apps, there's the social comparison. Everybody else's body and life looks so perfect. There's the, eating disorders and body image issues that come up from that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of accounts on Instagram and TikTok, for example, that promote eating disorders. They're pro-anorexia sites. So they've shown this, a bunch of studies, and even a couple of U.S. senators have done this. You open an account in the name of a 13-year-old girl, and you start looking for healthy diet and exercise tips, and before very long at all, it takes a sad turn into that pro-anorexia, pro-eating disorder world.
I think that is a wonderful takeaway for all the parents out there, Dr. Jean Twenge, that the connection from increased screen time and especially the social media on the phone increases the rate of depression. So parents out there, if you're saying, it's okay that my kid is going to play this game, listen to this song, eat this meal, do this activity, would you still endorse it if you knew the more often they did it and the longer time they spent doing it, it would increase depression? We talk about the idea of the easiest way to get to Carnegie Hall is practice. But this is the exact opposite. You're not getting to Carnegie Hall the more you practice, the more you're involved in this social media, and the more you're involved on that phone as a child, the more often you're going to see instances of depression. That is a wonderful takeaway, Doctor. Now, I want to have you and I do a little bit of role-playing, okay? Here. So, Dr. Jean Twenge, Centennial Institute Impact Summit featured speaker, also author of 10 Rules for Raising Kids in a High-Tech World. I am going to pretend to be one of your children, and I'm sure all the parents out there have run into this. Okay, Doctor? But Mom, all the other kids have it. I gotta have it. You don't understand. You're gonna ruin my life. Okay, how does a parent respond to that temper tantrum from their child, making the inelegant case they need to have access to social media? How do you respond?
You sound just like my kids, maybe slightly more dramatic, but just yeah. And pretty much every parent of teenagers who set rules and guidelines around this have heard that argument. So what I have found, and in talking to other parents, they have found this too, kids don't really need social media to communicate with each other. There's so many other ways that they can do that. They can call or FaceTime each other. They can text each other. That's the one they usually do. And that's not as performative as social media. It's still on the phone. So ideally, if they can get together in person, even better. That means as a parent, you may have to let go of some control in that area of, yes, you can go back to your friend's house. That's Rule 8, by the way, encourage real world freedom. But then they're with their friends in person and not on the phone. So this idea of if my kid doesn't have a certain social media app, they're going to be left out. I hear that all the time. And I think it's a really, really false argument. So, here's the other piece of it. I heard this from one of my kids about TikTok. Everybody else has TikTok. Well, TikTok is actually not a platform that kids use to communicate with each other. There's videos on there, but it's a continuous feed, and almost all of what they're seeing on there is not from their friends. it's from influencers and whatever video is popular and whatever topic that the app thinks that they're interested in. So that one can immediately be off the table, and that's often the biggest time sink. So that leaves things like Instagram and Snapchat. Well, Instagram, as we mentioned, has all of those issues around body image and other things. Snapchat, that's the one that a lot of parents will say yes to. And when I dug into Snapchat for this book, I found out it is the favorite app of drug dealers because the snaps disappear. So if you say yes to that, you're going to think kids are just communicating with their friends, but they're not. There's a quick ad feature for people around them. They can interact with people selling drugs. And that's how people get drugs now, Snapchat.
That's Dr. Jean Twenge. She's going to be speaking at the upcoming Centennial Institute Impact Summit. She's got a fantastic book out there about 10 rules for raising kids in a high-tech world. 10 rules for raising kids in a high-tech world. She's also very active on X. You can follow her there at JEAN_Twenge, TWENGE, X.com, Jean Twenge. Jean, I want to explore the complications of raising kids in a drastically changing world. Because our kids, for instance, we moved them schools because when I went to go volunteer in their government-run brick-and-mortar school, we saw teachers just kind of handing out iPads, right? Here's the iPad and go sit in the corner, kid. And we just, my wife and I said, we want something better for our kids. So they went to a classical charter school, no computers actually. So we kind of bounced back the other way where they're learning cursive and all that stuff. Yet they're inheriting a world, for instance, where broadcast television is on decline. X is where most news consumption takes place right now. You have entire careers being built around AI. So how do you navigate the harms of a high-tech world, yet prepare your kids to be able to be active, employed in a world that's based on high technology? Your thoughts?
You know, your kids are going to be fine because here's the thing. There are skills that are difficult to learn that take a lot of practice. Social skills, deep reading, critical thinking, writing, those are all things that are easier to develop without as many computers and tablets around. Here's some things that are easy. Social media, designed to be easy to use. Most laptop computers, you can learn to use them pretty quickly. Maybe the only thing I would say you should probably start by middle school is learning how to type. Yet, I think that may be gone relatively soon too with AI and people being able to dictate things. So these real-world skills are so much more important. And there's also just more and more research coming out that these screens are interfering with education, that the one-to-one ratio for devices, and we rushed into that in education, and it was probably not the best of ideas.
Colorado right now has faced a call by the state legislature where every district has to figure out what to do with phones in the classroom. It's left up to each district, some districts even leaving that up to schools. But to your point, I think we're resetting, particularly in education, and going, you know what, kids with phones, kids with the iPads and the Chromebooks all the time, every moment of the day, probably isn't best. That's Dr. Jean Twenge. She's going to be speaking at the upcoming Centennial Institute Impact Summit, September 26th through the 27th, on the campus of Colorado Christian University in Lakewood. They're exploring theology, technology, and anthropology. You can get your tickets at centennial.ccu.edu, centennial.ccu.edu. She joined some other great speakers, including John Stonestreet, Isabel Brown, Dr. Brad Littlejohn, Emma Waters, and others. You can see the full list at centennial.ccu.edu. Dr. Twenge, thank you so much for your good work, for your practical skills for parents to address this critical issue, raising kids with technology, and we really appreciate your time this morning.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I discussing the Centennial Institute Impact Summit they have coming up about theology, technology, and anthropology. We were hosting Dr. Gene Twangy, author of 10 Rules for Raising Kids in a High-Tech World. And it has gotten more high-tech, Bill.
Yeah, it has.
What's changed since you were a kid, tech-wise?
Now, everything's changed because I'm of that golden era where you left the house, and after you got out of shouting range, that was it. It was freedom. There was nothing else out there. And there's part of me that I regret seeing kids these days, and God, I sound old. What the hell happened here? The idea that they don't have some of the personal struggles and self-reliance. And what I mean by that, Adam Walker is doing video for us. He and I were just talking that there was that time when you were a kid, you get on your bike and you end up 3-4 miles away from the house, and one of your friends would have a crash. And it's nothing horrible, no broken arms, nothing like that. But, you know, he's scraped up. There's a little bit of blood in your knees, scraped up, things like that. And the chain's off the bike or something else. You and your friends had to figure it out. You and your friends, had to figure out, or not walk home, get the damn chain back on the bike, and then bike home. I mean, the thing is, what are we going to do here as a group? One of the things that I did when I was learning how to drive is my buddy and I would go and grab a cassette tape and drive in 45 minutes in one direction away from the house, because that was normally the side of one cassette, more or less. And when it's flipped, stop the cassette, then look around and go, where the hell are we? And then try to get home. That idea of navigating. I mean, I'm riding the RTD bus in 3rd grade. So I was off on my own quite a lot.
But Bill.
Yeah. And that's the difference.
Do you think, though, that the way you turned out is the best advocation for how kids should be?
No, not at all. But the issue is the problem solving and the self-reliance.
Look at the way I turned out.
The issue for me is
the parents out there going, I don't know about that, Bill.
This is the thing. What I worry about is the kid. I think that kids struggle with the idea of being alone. And what I'm looking at is just the idea of being by yourself. There are friends of mine that talk about my brother and I, that you could drop us alone into any major city on the planet and we'd survive.
Right?
Yeah, we'd survive. Right? I'm not so certain about the next generation, and that would include my kids. I got some questions on some of them. How about you? What's changed? What are your reflections on difference between raising kids versus being a kid?
Well, I'm a little meh. Like, I grew up when the internet was just getting going, so I remember 6th grade getting access to it for the first time, and there were no rules.
Oh, yeah.
Bro,
yeah.
It was
I remember
wild. That. Prodigy, you'd sign in, and the whole world opened up to you. I was a 12-year-old, but you're like, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
So
they have to stretch before doing that? I don't know.
Yeah. So, and then, I went through college and played tons of video games. I used to joke with my kids, I got a master's in Madden at college. That was my true major. And now I just don't really play video games. So part of me is like, you just evolve and develop as an adult, and it doesn't become that important anymore. So I'm not so terrified. But we as a family have decided no social media till you're 18. Because I just don't think that that's a wise place. And we've had to help our kids understand what's really happening out there. That person that messages you, that's like, hey, let's be friends, is probably a 45-year-old unemployed man living in his parents' basement, sitting in his underwear. Not the best person to have a communication with. So be wise out there, because we've learned and we've watched all those horror stories of like kids disappearing and then, taking pictures of themselves and being pulled into entrapment things out there. So for us, it's no social media till you get much older and you can handle that, because that didn't show up until we were in college.
Oh, yeah, not at all.
But just tech in itself, I'm kind of like, well, it's just the way the world's going. And if you can't be fluent in AI, you're going to be at a real disadvantage here in 5-10 years.
You're going to be a real disadvantage. We always talked about the idea of sharing images and pictures as cookies inside of our household. And the idea is, if I have a plate of cookies and you ask me for one of the cookies and I hand you the cookie, do I have now any control over what you do with that cookie?
Yeah, right.
Could you give it to somebody else?
Once
Can you
that
share
picture's
it?
out there,
same thing with the picture.
Forever.
It's gone. You no longer have control of it, and it's no longer yours. Once I give you the cookie, that's your cookie.
Sounds like a great event they're going to be doing over at the Centennial Institute. You can go to centennial.ccu.edu to check out more. Their Centennial Impact Summit on Theology, Technology, and Anthropology coming up September 26th and 27th. Well, if you missed any of the show, go to 710KNUS to download the podcast. You've been listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is 710 KNUS. It's almost Friday.